You can't be a person with no moral code and have a fascinating womanhood, deeply romantic marriage. You just can't.
It's not just about being on time. It's how you feel and how others feel when you're on time.
There's a lot of different kinds of self-discipline, and some of them are kind of smaller things that relate to charm.
And what do you think is the difference between being charming and being ladylike? Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fascinating Womanhood channel. On our channel, we talk about everything that has to do with developing femininity and building strong, long-lasting, loving relationships. I am Cherry Lynn, and I'm here with my mom, Dixie Andel Forsyth. Hi.
Hi.
So today we are talking about ladylike behavior. We're actually excited to introduce a mini series of ladylike behavior. We were going to just do one video on ladylike behavior, but then we started discussing it and it turned into several different huge subjects. And we thought we might want to just break it up a little bit for you all so that it's really easy to understand and you can definitely take a lot more away from it when we break it up a little bit more. Today is our first video on ladylike behavior, and we are discussing self-discipline. We talk about this a little bit in your book. Can you explain a little bit about this section of your book?
It's in the chapter on charm, and it's one of the aspects of charm. Initially, you just think, ooh.
I don't want to talk about that.
No, we need to be more self-disciplined with dieting and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of different kinds of self-discipline, and some of them are kind of smaller things that relate to charm. In being self-disciplined, it means you don't just say, well, I felt like saying it, so I did. The whole idea of charm has to do with sensitivity to others. In other words, can you be a hermit on the top of a mountain in a cabin and be charming? Well, it kind of involves other people.
So why does this relate to fascinating womanhood and growing a romantic relationship?
Everybody loves a charming person. We all do. We can probably think of either people we know or characters in books or movies that are charming. Have you ever thought, I wish I was more like that? I mean, I do. I don't know that I've ever met a perfected charming person, but there's people with different aspects of charm. And when you're dating, when you're married, this is a valuable thing to know, is to be charming. Charm is definitely a part of it. And plus, it'll help you to be happier. Charming people are happier because they're almost always well thought of.
And what do you think is the difference between being charming and being ladylike?
They're kind of connected because ladylike is men can be charming too, but we certainly don't want them to be ladylike. It's in a way that's unique to us as women. Ladylike, some people get offended with that, anything to do with femininity or ladylike today, but that's not what we are at Fascinating Womanhood. We recognize the power and strength of our own femininity.
So good. Okay, so we are going to talk about three main points within ladylike behavior relating to self-discipline. So the first one is being on time.
Now, that is harder for some people than others. Some people are just like, I can't stand to be late. And they just say, I have no problem with this. But some of us do have a problem with it. The reason it's important is because it shows respect for others. If you're invited to someone's house for dinner and you're 15 or 20 minutes late, it's rude. It's not only not charming, it's actually rude, especially if you develop a habit of it. But we live in a time where most of us have cell phones, and there's no reason we can't call if the traffic is bad or something and call and say, I'm really sorry, this has happened. I'm going to be so many minutes late. We have so many options nowadays. Most of us don't miss airline flights because they will leave. But some of us are late for meetings. And if you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you cannot do it, show the courtesy of getting in touch with the person and say, I'm running a little late. That shows you care.
You know, I have to tell you too, I live in a very big city. I don't know about anybody else out there that lives in big cities, but it's kind of normal where I live. This is going to sound crazy to people that don't live in this, but I live in an area where it's normal to be about 5 minutes late. Even in a workplace setting, the office I used to work in, 15 minutes late was like kind of considered a grace period because of traffic and things like that. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because you might live in a life where being on time isn't really expected out of you, or it's normal to be late. And I just want to say really quickly that it's not just about being on time. It's how you feel and how others feel when you're on time. That is a huge difference. And I don't know about you all, but when I am on time or perhaps even a little early, I just feel like my whole day is different. And I feel like, going back to the ladylike thing, I feel so much more at peace in my heart, with my day organized. I feel upstairs, as we like to say in Fascinating Womanhood. I feel like I can do this. I'm on time. It's not to say that you can't be late. Everyone's going to be late for things once in a while, but that feeling of being on time is really important.
You live in a situation like you do, where it's kind of almost culturally okay or expected to be late. I thought, what a great opportunity to establish that you'll stand yourself out apart, and it'll be easier to be, people will notice that person's on time.
I agree. And I think as we're talking about this subject of being ladylike, this isn't just about what appears to others. This isn't just about surface things. And I think a lot of people hear self-discipline and they say kind of what you mentioned earlier about, like, weight loss or whatever. This isn't just about that surface stuff. This is about your mental state and where you are inside, because that kind of sets the tone for everything else.
Well, and what kind of a reputation do each of us want? I'd like to be known as somebody who does what I say I'm going to do, and that includes being on time. When someone does that to me, I appreciate that they send a text.
I just want to add lastly that there's this social norm of being fashionably late, and it refers to you kind of like looking more polished or whatever, and that's why you're late. And I just want to say that I don't think that that's something to be proud of on a regular basis. But you know what I mean? That whole fashionably late thing, people I think are starting to kind of become proud of it and say like, oh, I can be late because I can just say that, the better ones come late or something. There's all these sayings about being late and how it's kind of cute. And I don't think it's cute on a regular basis.
Are the people who are on the other end of it, do they say, oh, they're fashionably late? Isn't that cute when you've worked all day on a meal? I don't feel that way. And it develops our character. And it's not that hard.
Well, a lot of people think that being on time is perfection. I don't think that that's the message here. The message isn't strive for perfection. The message is to be self-aware of the people around you and how you being late might affect them. And if that means that you're late every once in a while, but you say something, as you mentioned, you say something about you being late, and then you're just striving to be closer to be on time. I think that's
for being late. I have a cousin who, if he comes over and he's like 5 minutes late, he always texts, I'm so sorry, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. And I haven't even thought about it.
It's not a big deal.
How that makes me feel really great too.
So that's a good one. And I'm glad we discussed that, because you might hear being on time and you might be like, oh yeah, but really discussing it, I think it's really helpful to hear all the little pieces that go with it. Okay. The second one is work ethic.
I'm so grateful that my mother showed me such a great work ethic. And by work ethic, I mean ability to get things done. My mother would, if she wanted to get certain things done in a day, she would get up an hour or 2 hours earlier to do it. She wouldn't just say, I don't have time. If she said she was going to get something done or do it by a certain date, if she didn't, she physically couldn't accomplish it. There was a storm or something that prevented her, but she had an impeccable work ethic. And I always admired that. Now, if you don't have one, you can develop one. It means you don't just intend to do things and hardly get anything done. You do what you say to yourself, even you're going to do.
When I hear work ethic, I think of lots of different things. I think of an actual professional work ethic, like where you're working outside the home and you have a job and you're expected to do these things. But then I think about what I consider to be an even tougher part of that, which is your discipline when no one is telling you that you have to really do anything. And to me, that one is the toughest one. Those of you that watch our channel, I worked a lot longer than I've been a stay-at-home mother. When I became a stay-at-home mother, I could not believe how that pressure of being at a job versus being at home, there's such a different balance. The shift is so different. And to maintain that sense of, I got to get all these things done when no one's really going to hold me accountable. Oh my gosh, it was just so difficult for me to understand at first. Everyone's different, right? Everyone's going to have a different way of handling that. Some women are really organized naturally, and they just know how to organize their day, and they just get how to pull everything together. And then there's others, probably the majority of us, that doesn't come natural to you. And you really have to figure that out. And there's lots of different systems that you can follow. There's a thousands of different people on YouTube and Google that you could figure out how to get nitty gritty. And we're not going to get into exactly how you might organize your day. But the point is that part of being ladylike and having this charm and is part of figuring out how to accomplish a lot of things and pushing yourself to be better. That's going to be different for everybody. But I just think it's so interesting to think about both sides of it. There might be ladies that work outside the home and then they come home and they have a hard time shifting that. That could be a whole other subject.
Have you ever known, I think of situations. Have you ever known someone, I'm thinking particularly of a church situation, because that's when I haven't worked outside the home for a long time. So, but I am involved with other people regularly in that situation. If there's somebody in church who is known for, if they're asked to put on a party or a dinner, they go the extra mile. They don't just throw out some bologna sandwiches and say, fine. That's not a real good work ethic. The people that people admire the most are the ones that really put stuff in. They take the responsibility seriously. They try to do a good job. They don't just try to do the minimal. And so when you talked about work ethic at work, what's expected of you versus at home, and church is the same way. Church is always volunteer for these kind of things like parties. So if you don't have to, and you have to develop a reputation for yourself of doing a good job at whatever you do, doing your best at whatever you do, even if you've never done it before and you think it's probably not going to be that great, when you put effort into things, how much people appreciate that you put effort in. If I know I have to do something at 9:00 in the morning, for example, I have to be somewhere, I'm not the kind of person that wakes up like Bob does and bounds out of bed. I kind of wake up slower. So I set the alarm clock for a little earlier than it actually takes to get ready, because I know me. I know that I'm not going to be ready on time if I don't get up a little earlier. So it's like I've got to take responsibility for me needing that other time to just sort of gradually wake up and maybe putter around for a few minutes. That's part of my work ethic is if I'm going to do this, and be kind to myself here. No, I don't bound out of bed very naturally. Then I get up earlier.
What I'm hearing you say is you challenge yourself and you don't allow some of the things that are not easy for you. You don't allow those things to consume you and say, well, I couldn't do that because I was just tired. Of course we all get tired. Of course we do, but you are challenging yourself and you're challenging that part of you that you might struggle with, the morning thing. You're not a morning person, but you're going to challenge it. There's some people out there that are not night people and they want to go to sleep and it's bedtime and I'm going, but maybe you challenge yourself and you take that time, 15 minutes at night to clean. It's not even just about cleaning. Work ethic could be so many things. It can be balancing your crazy life and all the things that you're trying to do, but are you pushing through those things that are tough for you? That to me is ultimately just so admirable in a woman, that she can be flexible.
As you grow, it increases your self-esteem. Isn't that what we all want? If you've ever had a day where you feel like I really got a lot done, it feels good to have a good work ethic. It isn't just a head thing. It feels good. And so as you say, well, think I don't have a good work ethic, try doing it just tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that the work ethic subject is just very misunderstood. And I think the balance of it can be really tough. Figure out all that balance, but just constantly challenging yourself and the things that you feel challenged with and learning more about balancing your schedule and your life will just make you inside feel so much better. Being a lady isn't just about what it looks like. It's about how you feel inside, and your work ethic is a big piece of that.
And the whole idea is for you to be happier and have better relationships.
Okay, the third one is your moral code. Why does that go under discipline?
Sometimes people let their moral code slide when they get around a particularly strong personality who may say, oh, it's no big deal, just do it. It's who's to know? And you can let your moral code slide. Just the temptation to be dishonest or get away with something, just what you go against what you believe in, your core values and beliefs. It takes discipline to keep your moral code straight, no matter what life throws at you. Now, it may be that you can challenge your moral code. Maybe you believe something, you find out, oh, that wasn't entirely true. But that isn't because you're tempted to downgrade it, is what we're really talking about. Like if you don't believe in being dishonest, don't then cheat on your taxes because someone shows you a loophole. You know what I mean? That you probably will get away with, but you may not. Just that's going against your own moral code.
Yeah, and I think we all know those people that are a bit of, they don't mean to be, but they're a bit of chameleons in life. You know, that when they're around a certain group of people, they are influenced and they're just very easily influenced by others. And it can probably be the hardest for those types of personalities to maintain a moral code. And, you know, we could go on and on about why they might be going through that and why they might be doing that. But in relation to talking about ladylike behavior, a lady that you are going to respect that has great discipline is going to have a strong moral code. She is going to stick with it and not be perfect, but consistent.
And they're basic things. The moral code isn't that my room is vacuumed every single day. That isn't really a moral code. Moral codes are basic things like honor, honesty, reliability, integrity, and those sorts of things that fit in every situation. There's exceptions to some things where you have to be able to know your moral code well enough to know this is one of those times. But if you aren't sure you have one, what I would do is to sit down and think about, what do I believe in? What are my core beliefs? And if necessary, write some down. What do I believe in? Mm-hmm. What do I believe is right? What is moral? What am I willing to stand up for, stand against, and be that person?
When I hear moral code, I think of those really deeper subjects, those deeper things that you don't necessarily just share with everyone how you feel about it, but you live this. You live this by example. If you don't believe in, I don't know, a certain amount of bad language, you stick with that and you don't go there. And if you have a lot of spiritual beliefs, you don't teeter-totter between your beliefs. You stick with it. And you know, this again might sound like you're striving for perfection, but it's not. It's about being aware of the things that affect you internally so deeply. And these three are such, I think, the most important ones. The punctuality, the work ethic, and it's almost like it goes deeper and deeper. The punctuality, the work ethic, and the moral code. Those are really tough. And there's a reason why they're part of discipline. It's because they're tough.
Yeah, that's what discipline implies. It's not not always easy, but at the same time, they make you, like we said with the others, they make you feel good. They help with your self-esteem. They help with your relationships. You can't be a person with no moral code and have a fascinating womanhood, deeply romantic marriage. You just can't. Some things do not work together. And so we're giving you these bite-sized pieces of this, knowing you're not going to be perfect, because we aren't. I don't know anyone who is, but these are goals to shoot for and try to correct ourselves. If we have a moral code and we get a little off, we can correct it and say, I don't really believe in that. I don't believe in treating people that way, so I'm going to not do that anymore. And you can correct yourself, and you don't have to tell people your moral code. You just have it.
Right. You just have one. Yeah. And you live it. Yeah, exactly.
Try to live it as best you can.
If you're struggling with any of these things, I just have to say, definitely read Fascinating Womanhood if you haven't already. We have a lot of books. We have workbooks. The workbooks will help you. We have exercises in the workbooks. And then just coming here with us and being on this forum. We have a Facebook forum. We are on Instagram. Ask us questions. We can become more connected. I think part of this community on the internet is just so helpful right now in the world that we live in, where we can't spend as much time with people. There's a lot of crazy things going on in this world about not allowing us to be together face to face right now. And it's so great to have this. So you have any questions out there? Maybe you don't know how to get started with some of these things. Drop us a comment down below. We would love to hear from you. This is part of a series. We're going to do more subjects about being ladylike, being more ladylike. What do you want to hear from us in future episodes? We'd love to hear from you. What your questions are about becoming more ladylike, drop those down below too. And we are here every week. So hit like and subscribe. You'll help our channel grow, and you will know when our videos are out and they're brand new and they launch for the first time.
That's it.
We'll see you next time.
And stay feminine, as always.
Bye.